A good morning. It's 9 o'clock, Monday morning, February 7th. How are you this morning? How's it going, chat? I'm going to shout out the chat first, every day from now on. They've earned it, even though there's no one there. Yeah. How are you? There's some things I should have done differently this morning. I got up earlier, and thought that was going to give me lots of time to do things, but I'm kind of overwhelmed. Not going to lie. So things, how do I explain it? What would normally be a simple task is now like, is it the right task to do at the right time, right now? So bear with me. Let me collect myself as I go through my stream today. I've found the stream to be, for the most part, relaxing in an odd way. As soon as I get done with the stream, I have very little I want to talk about for the rest of the day. So, like I don't have a bunch of nervous desire to talk. That's nice. But man, a lot of work goes into some of this stuff. There's something I'm trying to figure out, but I don't even figure out what it is. So, where do we go? Yesterday, I spent a lot of time on my Deerwood Realty Clips channel. Yesterday's live stream was great. I mean, I can't figure it out. Every once in a while, we get one that's just fantastic. It's not every day. It's not every day. So I don't know how they're going to go until I do the show. And you say, well, shouldn't you plan to do better? Like I do. I would like every show to be as good as the one before or better. I'd like to be constantly improving. But for some reason, that's not how it goes. And so, to me, part of the allure of the live stream should be the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. It's live. Like I'm seriously live right now. It's like a sporting event. And so we're kind of missing that component with the chat because we can't really let the chat, get where we need to get. So it's more like when people watch it later, it's more like a recorded show, which is odd. I'm trying to do one thing and I'm getting another. Let's see. I don't know. Sorry. I had that. You ever have that morning where you wake up and when things are good, but you wake up and the alarm clock wakes you up and you were like solid dreaming. And then this morning, I was like, the alarm was going off and I was so asleep that I couldn't just hit the alarm, to stop on my phone. It was just like, I was kind of frozen there, trying to wake up. So that would mean that my sleep cycle is off. I don't know how the day is going to go. Let me try and let's try and talk about it and see if it's of any interest to anyone else. So I got the live stream. I probably need to do a podcast episode. I haven't done one since Friday. I have an idea on what I want to do, but I don't know how I'm going to lay it out. So God knows how long that will take. I need to upload clips to the clips channel if there's any clips worth updating. I need to pay bills. Then I need to post some listings on social media. Then I have a buyer's agency agreement that I need to get filled out and sent out. I have, I got to go to the grocery store. I have to go visit with some people tonight. And there's like 5 other things I'd also like to do today, but I don't think I'm going to get to them. And, you wake up and it's like the day's over. I watch the kids, and they seem to have all this time to go hang out with their friends and do things for fun. And it's like, when I remember when that was, it's years ago. And in a way, I want to tell them, like, hey, it's not always going to be this way for you, but maybe it will be. Maybe they'll have a life where they don't have to work all the time. And all work, no play makes a dull boy, or whatever they say. But boy, I'm in it. I'm in it right now. I don't know if I intentionally made it more work for myself than I needed to do. Like, I don't know if I just made a bunch of work up, or if it contributes to revenue or not sometimes. And obviously I have to pay bills. It doesn't contribute to revenue, really. Or sales. I'm sorry. I don't mean to use sales and revenue interchangeably. I wouldn't say at this point that the podcast brings in any revenue. I mean, it doesn't. It does take up a lot of resources. I wouldn't say the live stream brings in any revenue, because it doesn't. It also takes up a lot of resources. So I'm doing some things that are taking up a lot of time and not producing any money. It's probably not the way you want to go through life. But I don't know. I'm really in a spot. I'll be honest with you. I don't like to sugarcoat things, but I'm in this spot where I really like live streaming. And part of it is predicated on this idea that I can find new people in the internet space that would have never found me before, would have never known who I am or anything like that. That's a predication for why I enjoy live streaming, and it's the predication for why I enjoy the podcast. This idea that, like, YouTube will push out your content to someone else that might be interested is like a beautiful thought. Compare that with Odyssey, where I have my where I try to keep my backups online somewhere, just in case I get pulled from YouTube, and I get nothing. Like, my videos nobody knows that they're there. No one, YouTube doesn't push. Obviously, YouTube doesn't push them, but Odyssey doesn't push them. They just sit there, and it's like someone would have to know who I am and then go search for me to find me. And it's the same thing with when I was on Locals. I have a Locals account still. I don't understand they're merging with Rumble. Like, I don't understand how it's supposed to all work. But I wanted to stream on Rumble, and I wanted to update my stuff on Rumble, but each platform requires its own format. So for Odyssey, I have to reformat every video I do just to put it on there. You could say, well, that's not true. It is true for me, because I don't have enough subscribers, so that they don't automatically post my stuff over there. So I've got that problem at Odyssey. Then at Rumble, I'd have to upload the stuff every day. And you have to do that along with the podcast, along with produce. Sooner or later, you spend all your time like in this weird wasted moment time. And let me try to give you an idea of weird wasted moment time, because I never appreciated it until I started doing this, what I would call creative endeavor. Whenever you produce a video, you have to run it through some sort of editing software. If you want to make clips, if you want to make it nice, clear, reusable, stuff like that. So you run it through and it renders it. Well, it could take, to render 4K video for my computer, it could take 10 minutes of video will take 45 minutes. So there's 45 minutes dead. If I try to do any other graphics intensive thing on my computer during that time, from watching a video, editing a picture, my computer, everything's unhappy. So you have to find things that you can do that aren't graphics intensive on your computer in that time. That's tough. That's tough because we're a creative society now, basically. Maybe we've always have been, but the ability to do this stuff is amazing. So I've got that. And then when I do a podcast, I do the YouTube video first, and then I turn it into a podcast. But I'm committed to the podcast because I think it helps. I think it helps people find me who might not have otherwise known that I'm on a live stream. So those have to be rendered for video only. And I'm sorry, my collar's a mess. I bought these new shirts and they're the same brand I've always used. So anyway, gotta call somebody. I don't know who they are. That there. So for the podcast, you can't put the podcast straight to your website. You have to render the podcast into audio only, and then you have to upload that to a different server that holds your podcast information. And then that's not so bad, but it's like another step, and like, so you're not producing something and you've added another step. By I say you're not producing something, I have more people listen to the podcast in the podcast format than anything else. I don't put my live streams out as a podcast because I think that's, I don't know, a bit much. But anyway, then even when you do any of this stuff, then you have to watch it, like at least see if it looks right. So then you're spending more time going through and watching stuff that you've just produced. Then you're doing that on top of the real estate game. You're doing that on top of everything else that you do. And I'm not saying a woe is me attitude is where I'm at. What I'm saying is it's surprising to me how much time it takes to produce content. And it's surprising to me because look at all this extra stuff I have to do just to produce this content. Now, you say, John, buy a new computer. Well, I can't buy a new computer right now. I don't know if you've seen the global supply chain shortage, but I mean, I can't even get my hands on a graphics card for under like $600. And I love my computer. I built it myself. I built it for a time that I'm not in right now. I was not producing any content. I was not doing any video heavy stuff. I scoffed at people. Why would they need to have these? I think I have a 1 terabyte drive, and I probably put maybe 10 gigabytes on it a day now. I was like, I'll never need another hard drive in my life. Okay. And when I built the computer, it was like, this is the last time I'll ever need to do this. And I want to be, I hate to say it. How do I say it? I love to build the computer because I don't have to have all that crapware on it. You know, like everything just, it's good. But to buy a new computer right now, how do you justify buying a new computer when you have no revenue or no sales based on your product that you're selling? I don't see how you can. I don't see how you can justify it. And one of the bigger problems with real estate now, and I'm gonna put it out there, in my opinion, is, and this is what I've struggled with my entire career, there will be times when I do really, really well, okay, in real estate. And then there's times when I'll do really, really badly, okay? There's very seldom ever an in-between, or at least it has been for me. And so what I do in the really, really good times is two things. One, I save cash, because cash is always king. I've learned that in my life. And by cash, I mean reserves, okay? I don't mean like put all my money in cash. I'm just saying keep cash reserves, and then um, spend money on things that will improve my business. And that's where you run into a serious, serious issue. It's very hard to get like, I, it's, how do I put this? Let's say I have $30,000 sitting in the bank. Okay, let's just say that. Okay. And I want to do something new. If I want to do a new website and take a chance, a new website from like the best website builders in the country is 20 grand. Okay. That's from the best. Now understand, I built my own website. I'm very happy with it. It didn't cost me 20 grand and I'm okay with that. But I'm saying the best one. So like, if you're in a business like farming, and I don't know farming very well, I'm just using it as an example. But let's say you got this money and you can buy yourself a tractor and it's going to save you X amount of time. Well, then you should probably buy the tractor. It's going to increase your efficiency. Okay. Or you buy land because you can farm on it more. You can get more stuff. Well, with the real estate game, I can put that 20,000 down. Okay. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to get any more than what I have without spending the 20,000. There's very few things you can say about the real estate business that produces a return on your investment going in that you know about, okay, that you're aware of. And so for me, now I'm in the Midwest. I'm a middle-aged man. You know, I'm not 20 years old with my life, you know, ahead of me in the game just because I can social media my way through it, and you know, I'm going to leave in a couple of years. No, this is my business. This is where I'm at. And so it's very, very difficult to find anything that produces return. You say, well, you can advertise more. I could advertise more. And this is me just going over things. This isn't a criticism. But let's say I get a web lead, okay? I get a web lead, which is basically a name and an email address, okay? And I call and they're like, yeah, we like you. You know, we'd love to work with you. We're not interested in doing anything right now. Well, then there's this stage on the web leads called nurturing, which means you have to check in with these people that are not ready to buy or sell for like the next God knows how long, maybe forever. I have no ability to nurture leads at this point in time. And then you say, well, there's these softwares. You can put them in your CRM, and then, which is a client relationship manager, and then it'll automatically send listings to the person and you can see how they're doing. It's not the same way as following up with somebody. That's not the same as following up with somebody. So you've got that. And then, so I have no ability to spend money on something that will work. Like I used to farm my local area. When the market got hot, people just used their friends and they really didn't respond in any way to the advertising. None. It was just burning money. And here's where, things were going well. And so I spent more money on advertising because I thought that was, I would get that much more of a return. Well, it didn't come. So you say, well, now that's not good. No, it's not. So you basically have to find these ways to produce income with your time. Okay. Or you're just kind of throwing money away. I mean, there's no measurable return. So, I don't know how to explain it other than that. I have to do better in many ways on many things, but for those people that have this real estate game figured out, is this like a single person, or like I've got Jan works with me. But if you've got it figured out like better than I do, good for you. Like where you're spending your time and everything. And let's assume you have that life that everybody talks about where you have time on the weekends and have time every night to hang out with your family. That's a great life. Good for you. You should be thankful that that's where you're at, because I am not in that spot. I'm working all the time, and um, it's tough. Tough. So, wanted to talk about something today, and I don't want to make it political, but in my lifetime, the influence of China in the world has been significant. In the 1990s, China was a mess, basically. It was just not the country that is now. It was not China is the world power now. Understand? They've absolutely bought and sold the United States. If you don't believe that, I'm happy for you. But we are so intertwined with China that they pretty much own us. And look no further than any movie that's being produced right now, and look no further than any technological advances right now, at least from our oligarchs in tech. All of the work, all of the research, all of the things are done to appease China and never the United States. No one cares about the United States. And look at the United States' biggest pork producer and who owns it. It isn't an American company. Now you say, well, that's okay. Our whole history has been about other people coming in and owning things. Like, look at Japan. They were going to beat us a long time ago with their cars. Remember? Like, yeah, I remember. But they didn't tell us how we can produce movies. And they didn't introduce social credit scores. And they didn't censor us. They competed. And you say, well, they competed in dirty ways like China does. Well, okay, business is kind of dirty. But we have no idea how bad the Chinese government has fleeced us and done a fantastic job. Because look, the citizenry has no idea that it's already happened. They don't realize that it's been taken care of already. So, if you disagree with me, okay, I'm okay with that. This is just what I see. 10 years from now, will I be wrong? Who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? I'm just saying right now, the influence of China over the United States is much greater than the influence of the United States over China. Okay? Significantly. So I wanted to go over this story. It was on Google Trends, and I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to read it. It's about a lady named Zhu Yi. Okay? Zhu Yi. Let me pull it up for you. Here we go. Zhu Yi, U.S.-born figure skater, competing for China, slammed for poor showing. To me, this is an amazing story, because I mean, it's amazing. Okay, so let's just go through it. An American-born figure skater who renounced her U.S. citizenship to compete for China at the Winter Olympics is being slammed on the country's most popular social media app Sunday after a disappointing performance. So put this together. First of all, you have a Chinese person born in the United States who has U.S. citizenship, and they decide that they want to be in the Olympics, so they renounce their citizenship to the United States to compete for a different country. Now, I want to say that I remember there's a guy named Jason Saltamacchia, I think, and he was an American, and he played baseball for the Italian national team. But I don't remember him having to renounce his citizenship. And I don't know many people in the world, as great as the United States has been for the last, I don't know, 60 years, there weren't a lot of people renouncing their citizenship for any reason. That would be a bad idea. Now we're seeing it. And this is fascinating. So she's 19, who skated onto the ice to cheers, fell twice during the women's short program team event, knocking the host country down from 3rd to 5th place. It says Zhu Yi has fallen, immediately became the top trending topic on Weibo, the Chinese equivalent of Twitter, after her poor showing, racking up 200 million views in mere hours. And if you want to know why the tech oligarchs so sold us out, it's because of the sheer scale of China. 200 million views, okay? That's a lot of views, and that's in hours. For that to happen on Twitter in the United States, I mean, it's not happening. Also, I mean, Twitter loves China, and they're not even the number one app in that space in China, and they're not going to be. They're not going to be. And so that's the other thing, is you sit there and you have these American companies falling all over themselves to be in tight with the Chinese, and then they don't even make it to the top. So the figure skater, who was recruited by China to join their team and give up U.S. citizenship to do so, crashed into the wall during her routine and fell again during the short performance. Now, if this woman comes back to the United States, will we give her citizenship again? Was it just like, hey, you go ahead and be a Chinese citizen for a while, do whatever you'd like to, and then we'll always take you back? And if that's the case, is that okay? I'm just asking. I don't know the answer. I don't know what she's going to do. This is such a disgrace, a commenter wrote on Weibo, receiving 11,000 likes. Now, that's not that many out of 200 million. Another quote, I'm upset and a little embarrassed, as Zhu said in an interview after the performance. I guess I felt a lot of pressure because I know everybody in China was pretty surprised with the selection for ladies singles, and I just really wanted to show them what I was able to do, but unfortunately I didn't. Now, I don't know who's the best ice skaters in the world right now as far as a team. I have no idea. And you say, well, John, why don't you know? Well, come on, guys. I mean, seriously, I can't know it all. But what I would say is this is just my own. Was this woman, she's 19, we're going to go with woman today, was she being trained by the United States Olympic Committee to be a figure skater? Was she in the United States programs, or was she being privately trained, or how did this work? Did we spend any of our money training this girl? I'm sorry, this woman, well, she would have been a girl at the time, to become a professional figure skater and then let her just scoot off to China when the Olympics came? And the second part of that is let's just assume that the United States Olympic Committee, Ice Skating Federation or whatever, produces 100 different skaters, okay? And say the top 5 go to the Olympics. Now, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not criticizing. If she was like the 13th best skater for the United States team, and she went over to China and she was like the number 2 or 3 ranked skater, that just shows you the divide in the sport. Now, I'm sure she's a better ice skater than I am. Okay, I don't. But what's fascinating to me is the competitive spirit. Okay, to want to be the best. All right, will take you back to China to renounce your United States citizenship, and you still end up finishing down in the program. Like, I understand her motivation. If you want something, you go after it. But sometimes if your ranking doesn't make any sense and you still do it, like, why did you assume things were going to be better? So here we go. Social media users also criticized Zhu for not speaking fluent Chinese, comparing her to Chinese American darling and free skier Eileen Zhu. I guess that if it's Gu, I'm sorry, I'm not. Who was recruited to play for China and charmed the country with her perfect Mandarin. So we need to look up this Eileen person and find out if she renounced her citizenship just to play for the Chinese team. So imagine growing up and being recruited by a different country to serve as a propagandist for their Olympics and then failing. Like, that's got to be hard on your brain, like real hard. Another person posted, please let her learn Chinese first before she talks about patriotism. And then another quote, Zhu Yi, how ridiculous your performance is. How dare you skate for China? You cannot even hold a candle to an amateur, another griped. Wow. So I just thought that was very, very interesting and kind of shows some sort of perspective on the world in which we live, in the sense that you've got this person who had United States citizenship, renounced it to go to another country to play, to skate, does a terrible job, and then, like, now what? I mean, it's bizarre. And then to have, like, I mean, we know that Twitter isn't real life, okay? We know this, but can you, like, do you realize how much propaganda is on Twitter? How many fake accounts? How many accounts are just set up to rile people up? And how operations are being conducted on Twitter to silence people and to create alternative political outcomes. I mean, if you've seen the Joe Rogan thing, like, look at the people behind that on Twitter and how they did it. And if Twitter can have that with people in the United States, what do you think's happening in other countries? And we've reached a stage in really the Western world where we no longer really believe what people tell us or report to us. Does anybody really believe what the news says? Like, I mean, really? And we watch people lie in real time and they don't get called out for it. And this is not just on one side of the political spectrum. I mean, it's really bad. And we think because we can go to Twitter and spout off about something, look how much better off we are than the Chinese. They aren't allowed to go spout off on something on social media, but it turns out they are. As long as it's the approved narrative, you're allowed to say whatever you want to, and as long as you're the right person, you can also say whatever you want to. That's the world we've gotten to, and on the Western end, I mean, if you've followed Canada, Justin Trudeau is an absolute perfect example of a politician in the Western world. He is using race and anything else he can find to divide and conquer the protesters in Toronto. By the way, fully supporting other protests in the past. It's just that it's this one that he doesn't like, because he doesn't like its message. Very, very, I mean, and to use the hyperbole that he uses on these truckers, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I mean, just watching this from a distance is amazing. And we see in the United States, we know what our government is doing is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Absolutely. If you really do believe in the United States government at this point in time, and that their motivations are pure and they're for the people, that's where I think we really had an issue. Is we thought that the government was for the people. It's not for the people. Not even close. Not even close. So get that silly notion out of your head. It's for the powerful, and that's it. And not just the powerful in the United States. It's for the powerful in the world, which is why it's so easy for China to buy everything the United States sells. It's bad. It's bad. Will it get worse? Who knows? Who knows? Will it get better? Maybe. I don't know. All I'm saying is this is a very unique time, and this article is a perfect illustration of how wild this world we live in is. Fantastic on so many levels. So yeah, that's the article for today. I encourage you to look into this. This is a very, very interesting world. And I just can't. Do you feel sorry for someone like her? Hindsight being what it is, it seems like it's a terrible decision to go this route. But if she would have found success, she would have been hailed as a hero in her, I guess, native country, or I don't know. Well, she was born here, so she's not a native Chinese. So it's really, really, really fascinating. That being said, let's go to look at some luxury homes today. I'm a little bit late in where I want to be. This was on Realtor.com. This house is in Thailand. So there's a bug, and that's just how it is. Here's a house in Colorado, 1.6 million. We're going to go with this house, 1.4 million, and this house, 1.25 million. And I'm not going to lie. From what I see, these are not houses that should be. I don't know how to say it. These home prices, for if they were in St. Louis, are just crazy. This has been on the market 14 days, 40 pictures, built in 2007, a 3-car garage. Let's look at the property. It was sold in 2021. It was sold 6/4/2021. Okay. And it's now back on the market 6 months later for $200,000 more. This is a fix and flip. I mean, that's exactly what it is. The best of South Shore with panoramic views over the reservoir from spacious covered decks, steps to the lake house and pool, trails out the back. This 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom custom home offers everything you could want, complete with gourmet kitchen, gorgeous office, large primary bedroom with stunning ensuite bedroom and suite. Plenty of recreational space and show-stopping custom details throughout. This home is ready for you to entertain your friends, spend time with your family, work, and play. So, let's just talk about the fix and flip market. Doesn't matter where you decide. Many people like myself think that you have to buy a house in a low price situation, okay, and then sell high. Meaning you want to find like $100,000 house, put 50 in it and sell it for 2. That would be a great deal. Well, there's people playing in these higher pools. This person here would be playing in the $1 million place. And if he can put $100,000 in a house and get $100,000 back, he beat me, okay, in one house. Me and my 50. And you say, well, that's I think it's easier to do it in the higher end. And I'll put it this way. In my neighborhood, a house sold for 180. Okay. They listed it for 311, and I guarantee you they didn't put in, $50,000 more or $50,000 to fix it. It's just knowing what people want, fixing, like if something's outdated, fixing it, and then knowing that some idiot will pay it. That house was, and I just want you to know that house was listed for like 6 months. Everyone, anyone that could have wanted to buy it could have and didn't. So, anyway, let's take a look and see what they did. Got a weird ass email for something or other I have to look through. Okay, so here we go. I mean, gorgeous outside, gorgeous curb appeal. Okay, but what we got a 6,000 square foot house. Okay, which is, I mean, massive. I mean, a beautiful kitchen. It's really hard to spot a fix and flip in the listings. But let me just say it's possible when you see how things are set up. Like, so why isn't this all full of stuff? This, this here indicates that it's not. Because you wouldn't build this. You wouldn't put this in there. So, I don't know. This is an interesting home. We never see pictures of the closet. At least we have it in 27 and 26 pictures. We do have this, like, we do have things on the walls, which if you're a stager, you don't want to put stuff on the walls because you don't want to damage anything. But I mean, no one lives this way in their real life. But I mean, there's soap there. So it's really, really hard to figure out this house as far as what really happened. But not seeing any closets leads me to believe. I could be wrong. If a listing agent wants to reach out to me and tell me I'm an idiot, I'm kind of okay with that. Let's look at this house, 1.4 million now. $1.4 million, 2,000 square feet. This portfolio of homes includes the listed property and the following 3 properties. There is no intent to sell the homes separately. So they're basically selling 3 houses. Okay, well that makes sense. So let's get out of there because I would like to look at homes that they're actually trying to sell for the price. One home for the price. That's what I'm looking for. Look at this home. 5 days on the market, 3-car garage built in 1994. 4,900 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. I mean, $1.2 million. Oh, yikes. I mean, you guys that watch with me all the time, I mean, this is not even close to what we would normally even think is a $1 million home. But because of where it is, because of the view, I mean, bringing a good sum. But I mean, a pretty basic home. I mean, not a lot of detail, not a lot of architectural detail, not a lot. I mean, I can get this cabinet, I can get this countertop at Lowe's, and that's not an insult. It's just like, really? So, it's like, how would you like your new backyard to be to this Cherry Creek State Park? Okay. Okay. $1.2 million. And this is $1,000,001. Probably doesn't back up to a park, but it's made of some brick. $1,000,001. 3-car garage, been on the market 4 days. Lovingly maintained. Tastefully decorated and updated home. It's not a fix and flip. I don't know about that. Listing removed 2019. Sold in 2019. That's sold for $840,000. Person put $1 million. They say they put $100,000 into it, so that's $940,000. And now they're asking $1,000,001. I mean, how do you lovingly maintain a home for less than 2 years? Floors are shiny. I would like to know if there's any dishes, silverware, etc. in the cabinets. Oh, someone does live there. Look at that. That's your tell. They've done a fine job then in what I would say staging the home. It's nice. I mean, for me, I'm not into that kind of price. $1,000,001, that's a lot. But okay. All right. Let's get into some real estate, right? Some real estate articles. We haven't done that enough lately. 11 ways to organize pots and pans for a practical and tidy kitchen. I thought this article was interesting. I sent it to my wife, and I wanted to go over it because I see this as an issue, just not just in my own house. It says organize pans neatly with a compact vertical rack. That looks nice. But who has that much cast iron? I have 3 pieces of cast iron. It says choose a 2-in-1 wall hung shelf and rail. I liked this. I sent this to my wife. I said, this is pretty cool. And she wrote back and she said she didn't like it at all, that it would look cluttered in my home. But it's such a small spot. I mean, that's not that big. I don't understand how that would do such a thing. And I have a wall that I thought it would be perfect on. But I suspect what's going on with that. My wife doesn't like this wall that's in the house. And I suspect that rather than buying that and putting it on the wall, which would give credence to keeping it, she would prefer that we get rid of it. And so we couldn't have that justification, basically. Which is fine. My whatever she wants as far as design is totally fine with me. It says hang your pans on a stylish pegboard. Not really a lot of pans there. I don't really know if I like that. I feel like it would get dirty over time. Make the most of empty corners with floor standing shelves. I mean, I really don't like that setup right there on a countertop. That's just ugh. Use command strips to hang your pans exactly where you need them. No. Then this ceiling hung rack above an island. First of all, you have to have an island. And second, now this is just something we learned when I was, reading the data and things like that. anything that you have like hanging from the ceiling on a listing in the kitchen indicates that you don't have enough room for your stuff. And so in this thought, we don't want to be putting stuff. We're listing the home. We don't want this stuff out. Okay. We want less clutter. I was in a house in Maplewood and they did this and it made the kitchen look really small. You had this huge metal rack over the small island. It didn't look right. But again, there's a difference between when you list a home for sale and when you're living in a home. And you have to just know the difference. So go out with two-sided contraption. You have to have cabinets or countertop space to do that. I think this is cool. I think that makes a lot of sense. My wife wouldn't go for it, and I'm okay with that. I get it. And then it says, take inspiration from professional kitchens with stainless steel racks. I did have some friends do the stainless steel racks, and I thought they were wonderful. I really did. But again, this is for like living in a home versus listing a home for sale. Now, the lids are a problem. This wouldn't work in my house. And I would never want to hang the lids from the wall. So I don't know. I thought it was, I mean, pots and pans are a big deal. They are an issue in a house. And I thought this was a good article that kind of at least talked about some of the issues or some of the things you can do. Next one here. I thought this was a good article, and I wanted to go over it with you because, I framed it like this. I said, skeptical approach to a new home, and I like it. I do like a healthy bit of skepticism with the purchase of a new home. Why are people selling? You know, these things to me can provide some sort of insight, some type of insight. So let's go over it. Scary issues that can kill your new home joy. Be afraid, be very afraid that new home you're thinking of buying might not be as perfect as you think. Danger lurks behind every wall, or maybe just one. Either way, it's probably something you should know about. It says buying a home is full of challenges, and the ones that might be the most frustrating of all is finding out there's something wrong after you've already closed escrow. In many cases, you may have recourses against the seller if there's an issue that wasn't disclosed, or against the home inspector, or if he or she missed something serious. But even then, you're still left with a problem you have to deal with when all you want is to be enjoying your new home. Here are 8 things to look out for before signing on the dotted line. And I agree with this 100%. You know, if you go to a home and you go to the basement and you see that the wall has shifted, why are you buying that house under any price? Why are you getting involved in that house? Are you a builder? Are you some sort of professional contractor? Or are you home handyman that feels that you can fix this and it's okay? Or are you someone that has no idea about anything in a home and you're just buying it because the price is cheap and your real estate agent tells you that it's not that big of a deal? You should really, really consider why you're buying that home. Don't say that it's all you can afford, because there's homes priced in every single price range across the community. So it's got to be more than this is the only house that I can afford. And the issue to me is yes, you can sue people. Yes, you can do that. But why would you take up your time in your life, which is one of the most valuable things you have, and waste it? I mean, basically waste it on lawsuits and things of that nature when you just probably shouldn't move into that home in the first place. And I say this, I'll go even a step further. Why are you even writing an offer on a house that has these issues? That's where we run into a very big issue between me and other real estate agents. Okay, if we go through a house, if I'm the buyer's agent, we're going to look and see about these issues. We're not going to care so much about the color of the wall in the kitchen. I don't really care. You can paint the wall a different color, but you can't fix a basement issue or a foundation issue without spending a serious amount of money. Why would you allow yourself to be with a real estate agent that isn't pointing these things out? And you say, well, they wouldn't. They if they knew something, they would point it out. No, they wouldn't. A lot of them would wait until the home inspector goes through it, and says, oh, this is terrible. Because that way it's someone else saying something's wrong about the property and not the agent. It's a way for the agent to avoid responsibility. And I hate it. I hate it. That's why I get so confused when new people come to the industry and then immediately their family and friends flock to them to use them as their agent. These people know nothing about buying a house. They know nothing about the differences between homes and why they're priced the way they are. And you're gonna use them because it's a member of your family, and I get that. But you're really taking a risk that's somewhat unnecessary. So it says here are 8 things to look for before signing on the dotted line. It smells moist. If you tour a home on a rainy day, don't automatically think the moist smell is because of the weather. If it smells moist inside, you'll definitely want to make a return trip when the rain is past to make sure there's no moisture issue in the house. Very interesting. I had a house that I was listing, and when it rained, there would be a small trickle of water go from the wall to the drain in the basement, and I disclosed it. That's totally cool. That's not even a problem as long as it's disclosed. And it wasn't a finished basement either. There's a big difference. But I'll go to homes and the smell will be terrible, and it's like, this is bad, and they're fully finished, and it's the carpet's wet and the carpet's moldy, and they don't know where it is, and the owners are so used to the smell they don't disclose it because they just don't know. And so all you really have is your sense of smell. A home inspector is not going to go behind the walls of a basement to check and see if something's leaking. Okay, they're not going to damage any drywall. All they can do is point out things that they see. They can't move stuff around. So, yeah, if it's got that smell, that home that I had, realtors would on the feedback say it smells. And it was like, yeah, it smells, and this is why. So just keep that in mind. There's a telltale pet odor. This could mean damage to the carpet or floors. It might be something you can work out while negotiating, but you definitely want to be aware of what you're dealing with so that there's no surprises later on, like pet urine that has seeped down through the wood floors into your subfloor, costing you thousands. Well, one of the things that I saw in my most recent reading of the seller's disclosure is actually a question related to, did you put carpet over hardwood floors that you knew to be damaged? Which is a fascinating question because, everyone, I think the majority of my buyers really, really wants hardwood floors. They'll take carpet in the bedrooms, but they really, really want hardwood floors. And from what I've seen in my time in real estate I hate carpet just because of what it traps underneath. You have the dogs that do the sneaky peeing. And yeah, I agree with that. If you smell pet odor, and if it's like we always talk about that house with the big dog that was wet and had its own couch, God only knows how long that stink is going to stay in that house while you move in. It says the neighborhood is iffy. Maybe there's more crime than you're comfortable with or too much of a commercial presence. It's all about what's acceptable to you. Now, I've made podcasts about crime and the difficulty of really understanding the statistics. If it's like in St. Louis, if it's a domestic dispute in the county and someone's murdered, you probably won't hear about it on the news. But if it's in the city and someone gets shot on the street, you will hear about it on the news. And in both cases, someone was shot and killed. I hope you understand what I'm saying there. Hope it makes sense. It's just strange how crime is, the perception of crime in a community. But I have had people, mostly on the renter side, will move into a dicey part of town and say, this is terrible. What was I thinking? If you don't understand a neighborhood before you buy, you should really, really, really drive the neighborhood a lot, especially if you're a little bit concerned things might be dicey. Neighbors' homes are unkempt. If you're not looking in an area that has a homeowners association, pay special attention to what the neighbors' homes look like. If you're seeing curious paint choices, cars on the lawn, and grass that's waist high, you might want to think hard about whether this is the neighborhood for you. Some buyers appreciate the character of a neighborhood, but doesn't have the strict rules governing what they can do. But a neighborhood without an HOA can also have issues when neighbors don't take care of their homes, and this can affect your property values. Absolutely. You need to care about what the neighbors do. In the wintertime, you're not going to know if they don't cut their grass. But I think one of the things that I see when one should be questioning things is when people have a lot of stuff outside, be it plants, be it toys, be it bikes. If there's just a lot of stuff outside, it tends to be not a great neighborhood. But maybe you're that way. I refuse to believe that people buy homes and then always keep them up. But you know what I mean by that is, you know, like we go and we talk to someone like, and they're all excited about buying a home. Maybe they've never bought a home before. Maybe something happens to them and they decide that they no longer care about the exterior of their home. They no longer care about curb appeal. They don't take pride in the ownership of the home. They're interested in something else. And so the home gets into disrepair. That's not something you can block against, really, if you buy a home and your neighbor decides that they don't care, okay? Because you've already bought the home. That's why it's so important to have good neighbors and hope that the neighbors, sometimes people say, like, I hate my neighbor. Well, what happens when that neighbor moves out and somebody else moves in that's even worse? It's like, be careful what you wish for. It says it take you too long a time to get there. Have a serious conversation with yourself about how much is too much when it comes to the commute. If it took you an hour and a half to get there from work, is this something you can live with every day? In St. Louis, not a criticism. My family grew up in Union, and Union, Missouri is probably an hour away. And people thought nothing of driving from Union into St. Louis every day their entire lives. That's straight highway driving for an hour just to come work. And it was kind of accepted. Like, that's how people did it. Do they do it now? Absolutely. It's not something that I can handle. I'll give you a little insight into my life. When I was in my 20s, and I was working at a brokerage that was really far away from my house. It's probably a 35-minute drive in heavy rush hour traffic. I can remember sitting on the interstate and just, you know, and just being miserable, and saying to myself that if this is what life is about, I don't want anything to do with this. So yeah, commute is a big deal. It's dirty. There's times when a home goes on the market and it's clear the seller didn't make the effort to get it in shape prior to listing. It's not just about lack of updates, but lack of upkeep as well. While you may not know the circumstances behind the home, and while it may seem like a great deal if you can get it for a good price, be cautious. A home that is in bad shape on the surface may have a bunch of issues you can't see. Now, this is the skepticism that I appreciate as a real estate agent. You know, if someone can't take care of their home and get it in shape for a listing, what have they been doing the entire time they've lived there? Like, do you really think that they've changed the furnace filter? I mean, do you really think they've done any maintenance to the home at all? Or have they just done the bare minimum? So, absolutely. And don't look at it as a function of wealth. Like, don't look at it like, oh, these people live in, let's say, Webster Groves, and the house is a terrible wreck, but they must be having financial issue. No, there's just disgusting people, and they don't take care of things, and they don't know what they're doing. So don't use it as a don't assume that they didn't have the money to fix it. It's that they have a different view of how, you know, they like to live in filth. It's dark in the house. Sellers will typically open all shades and blinds and turn on all lights for showings, but nothing is stopping you from flipping those light switches off to see what the natural light situation is really like. If the place is dark, even with all the blinds open and lights on, and natural light is really important to you, it may not be the house for you. Now, this is a very interesting observation that I had not taken into consideration in the past, but I was showing homes in the city this summer, and we went to a house where it was very, very dark inside. The windows were open, but it was still dark, and it was the middle of the afternoon. And I've not been in many houses like that in my career. The second floor of that home had light. Every room had natural light, but the first floor was very, very dark. I don't know if it's the way the windows, were put up. The windows, the windows were not covered by shades or anything. It was just very, very dark, very, very unenjoyable. Perhaps they didn't have any ceiling lights in one of the rooms, and they were all lamps and they didn't work on a switch, but it was just weird and dark. And then here's another one. It's too perfect. A home that's really well staged can look super appealing. But buyers have to train themselves to look at the home, not the furniture and the furnishings. What will the house look like without that staged furniture? Does the floor plan work for you? Are the pieces scaled for the room or real families? Are there any curious configurations like a chair blocking access to a fireplace? Getting past the stager's tricks to see the house for what it is will help you decide if it's really for you. And this goes back to what I was talking about with the right buyer's agent. You'll have people say, "Oh, that's beautiful furniture." Well, the furniture isn't staying. It's staged, you idiot. Okay? One of the things people that do fix and flips like to do is they like to list a home without putting the refrigerator in the kitchen. Well, why do they do that? Once you put the refrigerator there, it takes up a massive amount of space. You can take a home that had what looked like a big kitchen and turn it into a very small kitchen with the inclusion of the refrigerator. We did it today when we looked at homes. The one was a fix and flip. I was trying to get to the closets to prove it, but I couldn't do that in the pictures. Smart staging. Don't let me see the fact that you don't really live there. But things were a little too perfect on that listing. I mean, people have more stuff than that. No one lives the way they put those pictures together. But you want to believe that as a buyer, okay? You want to believe that. And I've seen home stagers in St. Louis can do a fantastic job with staging for a particular time frame. And what do I mean by that? What they will do is, say the house was built in the 60s and the kitchen has never been remodeled. Well, they will use cues from the 60s in their design, in their staging design, that accentuate all the wonderful design patterns of the 60s. So like you're looking at a retro kitchen and you're sitting there thinking, this would be really, really cool. But pulling off a retro style is very, very difficult. And you're probably not as good at it as the stagers are. And so over time, it hides what they did was hide the fact that the kitchen is severely dated. While you're living in there, you're not able to hide that. You actually have to use it as a functional kitchen. And it's a disaster. So I agree with that. This to me was a very well written article. This is exactly what I would do if I was working with a buyer, is to show them all the things that they're not seeing, and they don't know what to look for because they haven't been out in the field, and they just don't know. So that's part of buyer education. It's something that I think is very, very important. And look at that. We're done with another hour. Thank you all for watching. I know you'll watch later. If you do get a chance to subscribe, I would appreciate it. But it's not a requirement. Just enjoy. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, put them in the discussion in the comment section, and I will get to them. And look, it's Monday. Let's get out there and have a good week. Let's get off to a good start. Thank you for